Welcome, everyone. My name is Gordon Berridge. I'm the Senior Associate Director for Graduate Admissions here at Bentley University. Very excited to welcome everybody this morning, this evening, or this afternoon, depending on where you're joining us from around the world, for today's session on the Bentley Student Experience for our working professionals. We're very excited for our fantastic panel today, so I'm not going to hold it up much longer. We're going to get it started right away here. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Sean Ferguson, who's the Vice President for Strategy and Innovation here at Bentley University. So Dr. Ferguson, I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Thanks so much, Gordon, and welcome everyone from whatever part of the world you're located in. We're excited to have this student experience panel where we can, have prospects and applicants to the program get a sense of what it's like to be a working professional at one of Bentley's working professional programs. We have three different formats. We have the accelerated online MBA, the part-time MBA, which is a per course kind of payment program. And then we also have our new professional MBA that's a cohort-based program that's an online hybrid kind of format. And so one of the things that we want to bring some light to in this session is the nature of the student experience. Typically, when people think of a working professional MBA or a part-time MBA, people just think about it as just going to school and taking classes. But we think the Bentley experience is materially different than that. And we want to dig inside the insight and perspective of some of the participants in the program. And so we have Amy Knights, who is currently in our accelerated online MBA program, which is 100% online. She's joining us from Tampa. We have Ron Ayers, who just started in our part-time MBA program this fall. He's a senior product manager for Capital One. And then we have Dennis Perro. Help me out, Dennis.
No worries. Peroyan.
Peroyan. All right. And Dennis is working at Thermo Fisher. And so we have a range of different perspectives of our students. And I want each of them, our students and alums, sorry, Dennis, right? So I don't want to shortchange you. But I'd like for each of you guys to talk about your background, your motivation, why a working professional MBA, and how you see this kind of serving your, professional and personal needs. And so I'll start, ladies first. I'll start with you, Amy.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. My name is Amy, and just to share a little bit about my background, I have about 25 years experience in corporate. My focus has been startup organizations, and I've resided in the revenue department. So I've probably had every role in the sales department, whether it be account management, hunting for new business, managing teams. And over the last, I would say 10 years, I've been evaluating, what makes a good leader? And if I'm going to go ahead and advance in my career, am I going to be able to survive? And I felt like there were some maybe missing gaps for me in my knowledge. And so I decided I was going to go back to school and figure it out. A lot of the companies that I've been with, they were so early stage that in my head, I always thought, am I just winging it? What's going on? And the component of leadership is so important to me, the engagement, the culture. And I've always felt like it could be a little bit better, but what did that mean? And so I'm here at Bentley and I absolutely love it.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Amy. Let's go to you, Ron.
Sure, Sean. Hi, everybody. My name is Ron Ayers. I'm currently in my second semester of my part-time MBA at Bentley, aiming for a leadership concentration. I am also fairly deep into my career, so 22 years deep, very similar experience. So I spent the first 10 years in startups, venture-backed, then 12 years in consulting, and then I recently made a move into a larger organization, Capital One, where I'm a product manager. And I do live on the other side of town in Waltham, which is kind of like a great part of the experience. I was gonna say, like, the campus is beautiful right now. I was on campus yesterday for class. There's still snow on the ground. Being able to interact directly with the campus is very exciting for me, especially as somebody who loves being involved in the community. One of the reasons why I decided to get my MBA was actually I was just involved in a job search. And while I was successful, it was always in the back of my head that not having that MBA at this point in my career may have been not hindering the job search, but certainly, you know, with the way that AI looks at resumes and everything else, I didn't want to find out I was being overlooked. The other piece was that, and I think, you know, Amy alluded to this, we're so immersed in the work so sometimes you have to take a step back and go, wait a second, I need a refresher on the foundational stuff. And so that's actually been one of the joys of my first classes is, you know, being able to take some of that foundational knowledge and reapply it back to the workforce already. So it's been great so far.
So Dennis, you were a little bit not as many years into your career when you came back, maybe about 5-ish or something. And so tell us about your situation and what you were thinking at that point in time, because I think we also have audience members who are looking for that point of view.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thank you, Sean, Gordon, Becca, and everyone who put this together tonight. So my name is Dennis Peroyan. I'm currently a finance manager at Thermo Fisher Scientific in Waltham. This is their headquarters. I was about 4 years out of undergrad. I went back for my MBA back in 2018. I felt I was at a point in my career where I had a good enough work experience that it would be a good time to go back to school, because I always going part-time. The great thing is what you learn in the classroom, you can apply the next day in your day job. And so that's the best part about being, relatively young in your careers. You're still learning. And being in finance specifically, it's not just numbers and accounting, it's the interpersonal skill set that you need to develop over time. And I felt going back to school, and I did concentrate in leadership as well, Ron. So if that's where you're leaning towards, I definitely recommend it. So learning those management style courses, working in teams, and then being able to use those different skill sets that you learn in the classroom and apply it in your day job, I think that was really important. So I was at a point where I knew if I wanted to become a manager, I was an analyst at the time, I needed to develop those skill sets. So that's why I decided to go back to school. And, I think it was a really good timing for me at that point. And I would also say the good thing about Bentley, I may bring this up later, because I was within 5 years of graduating undergrad, I was able to get some of my courses waived so I could do other like electives at the time, because I was a finance major undergrad. So the timing also worked out in that regards.
Fantastic. So, one of the things Dennis mentioned was I think an underrated element of the ROI of the program is the ability to take what you learn in class on Tuesday or Wednesday and apply it the next week in class. Can you dig a little bit deeper in a specific example, Dennis? And I'm going to come back to Ron and Amy about something that they took away from the classroom that they were able to quickly get immediate ROI that may make them look good to their manager or for their business or something along those lines. So Dennis, you first.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I also like to look at it like this, Sean, what you having that work experience, it actually helps you in the classroom as well, because a lot of your MBA will be group projects and presentations. So with that work experience, you are applying it in the classroom as well, and you can always rely on your professional experiences as well. So one that specifically comes to mind, there was a course that I took. It was the emotional intelligent leadership. One of the specific, theories we had studied was being able to see things from a different perspective. When you're working, you may have multiple managers you're supporting or multiple departments. Being in finance, I have a finance leader, but I also have engineer directors that I support as well. So being able to see things from both angles, and for example, I had to develop a finance report that would accommodate both my finance manager, but my engineering colleagues as well. Both had different needs, but I had to accommodate both. And being able to see things from their lens, I was able to kind of apply using that perspective that I learned in class in my day job by developing a finance report that would satisfy both parties.
Fantastic. Ron, do you have an example that's coming to mind?
Yeah, so I was fortunate enough to take leading responsibly my first semester, and that was just a great course because you got to explore leadership from great number of perspectives and leadership styles that like you wouldn't be able to necessarily qualify or quantify, but you know it when you saw it, right? And so being able to take a step away from what you're seeing at work and then being able to take a look at it more from an academic lens was like incredibly helpful, because then you go back and you go, oh, that's what's motivating that particular individual. That's why they're behaving the way that they are. This is a strategy for, interacting with those folks. So I found that to be just incredibly helpful. I think the other interesting part of that course is that because most of my experience was in startups, in smaller organizations, there was a lack of exposure, at least in my career to this date, on the ramifications of global interactions. So our professor was able to bring in different executives from large global companies that could explain to us some of the challenges they had, whether it was supply chain management, whether it was cultural leadership issues that we just would not get exposure to unless you had been thrown into that sort of environment early in your career, which is great.
Amy.
So there's a few things. Ron brought up the leading responsibly, and I have to say, I'm actually taking that course right now, and a huge light bulb just went off the other day, and it was phenomenal. Whether you're familiar with this or not, just let it sink in. What we talked about was the fact that there is a difference between managing and leading. And a lot of times when an organization is having challenges, right? A lot of times leaders or managers will manage harder. They don't lead. And it's a very distinct difference. So for me to be able to just take a step back and look at that, I think that's half the battle for me in terms of thinking about where do I fit in this? What is going to be my style? So I loved that. The other thing that I really love about Bentley is that the professors, they've got a great educational background, but they also have work experience. And so when we are talking about case studies, or we're just talking about situations, it's real life collaboration that we're doing. It's same with the students that are in the class. So that part I love. For me, it was important to get the data and the numbers clear in my head. So I took accounting, I took managerial statistics, and for accounting, I happened to be working on a business plan, and I came to a screeching halt when it came to the financial spreadsheets there and financial statements. And now I can approach them and I know what's going on. So that has opened up a world of knowledge for me. And with regards to statistics, just looking at qualitative data, how fun was that? I never thought that I would say that I absolutely enjoyed statistics, but now I can take that and I can apply it in my role as a sales leader, right? To really plan and strategize.
So I think Amy said, there are a couple of things she wasn't anticipating enjoying as much, but she's enjoyed accounting, statistics. Dennis or Ron, any of these kind of surprise things that you enjoyed that you weren't anticipating?
I'll say this, and maybe this will allude to some areas that we might touch on later. I've actually enjoyed the in-person class experience. I have enjoyed being able to separate myself from work, even if it's for a couple of hours, once a week or twice a week, and interact with individuals. Particularly, it's interesting, maybe not as much the part-time students as the full-time MBAs who I'm sharing a classroom with, and learning from them and their experiences and getting some exposures to ideas that normally I would be, potentially in an echo chamber in, because I'm with the same colleagues and the same peers all the time. So I have actually really enjoyed the in-person group work and the time spent with peers in the classroom. Not to say that you can't do it on Zoom as well. I mean, that's the beauty of the system, is that if we do get 2 feet of snow tomorrow, we can hop on Zoom and still take the class. But just having that option of being there is just a really nice way to be able to refocus and learn a little bit differently.
What about you, Dennis?
Yeah, likewise, Ron. And I have a unique perspective on it. So my first year in the part-time MBA program, it was all hybrid. It was right before the pandemic. So I actually really enjoyed going to class and getting to meet your colleagues. And even after long days of work, still going to campus at night. And I ended up really enjoying it. And I appreciated it more during the pandemic as my second year was all fully remote. So I would say when people think like, oh, like, I'm probably just going to go online, or I would just stay at home. I think I didn't realize how much I would actually enjoy the classroom discussions in person, because you are with so many like-minded people, whether you're in the same industry or not. And a lot of the classroom discussions are very lively. So I definitely really missed it my second year, as again, we were all remote at the time. But that was the one surprise, is I actually didn't realize how much I actually would enjoy being on campus and taking advantage of the resources the campus has to offer, but most importantly, just being there in the classroom with your classmates as well. So I definitely, for people who are considering part-time, if you are able to get out of work and get to campus, I definitely would recommend it, because it does make your experience a whole lot better.
Yeah, and I think the part-time option that Dennis and Ron took, you could either go in person or online. It's designed for ultimate flexibility for more people who are in the local area. But then there's Amy, who is not right around the block here. And tell us about, like, how does interaction and engagement work in the accelerated online MBA, and how do you build closeness and connectivity with your classmates?
So I don't see a part-time and a full-time. When
Yeah.
I'm in my classes with my counterparts, it's just more about immersing in the course itself. What I do love is that Bentley has such a wide array of courses to select from, but not only that, the way that the course is delivered, there's many options. And so for me, I'm in Tampa, and I think I mentioned to you, I came back to school, especially for the data and the math. So this semester, for example, I am taking a financial statement analysis course, but I'm actually taking it through the whole semester because it takes me a little bit more time. I want to be able to really embrace the information. But the first 6 weeks of this semester, I am doing an asynchronous course. So it's 6 weeks. Once it ends, the second half of the semester, I take another asynchronous course for 6 weeks. So I'll get 3 courses in, but there's only 2 concurrent, which makes it very possible. Like, it just makes it easier for me, right? To manage everything.
More flexibility and everything.
What was that?
I said more flexibility and everything. Or
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
Fantastic, fantastic. Now, one of the things, I think when working professionals do a part-time or working professional MBA program, people say, oh, well, they're already working, they're not looking for a job or opportunity, and they're satisfied. But I know, Dennis, you switched careers while here. Can you tell us about that process? Was there a role that Bentley's career services or alumni played in that, or, connections that the institution had with, Thermo Fisher? And Amy, I know you're embarking on a search, and Ron, you have perspective, having just gone through this. So I want to kind of get on the career element that is kind of more prominent for the working professional. So let's start with Dennis, since he did it first.
Sure. Yeah, it's a good question, Sean. So, I was at Raytheon at the time. A completely different industry than Thermo Fisher, more defense government contractor. I was in my final semester at or going into my final semester. I was taking a summer course at the time, and someone actually had done a group project on Thermo Fisher, I believe, about their hiring process or their HR process. I forget the exact course it was at the time. So I kind of learned more about the company and kind of was just curious. So I kind of chatted with one of the people on that team had worked with Thermo Fisher. So I was kind of interested in the company at the time. And, I ended up applying for a role at one of the sites that was near my home at the time. And that's kind of how, I guess you could say, it kind of got the ball started, is that, once someone had done a presentation on Thermo Fisher, and I kind of learned about the company and got to kind of network within the Bentley alum. So that definitely kind of impacted my career decision. And it's a large organization, but being able to talk to people within a company before you apply or before you sign on is really, I think, important. So that's kind of what got the ball started for me and made the transition.
So you talked about that networking. It sounded like you had some informational interviews with people, from Bentley before you maybe got into the process. Can you talk about how do you kind of identified with them, their willingness to potentially help you and provide perspective that ultimately helped you be successful through the process?
Yeah, I think, like I said, Thermo Fisher, it's 100,000 employees worldwide. So it's a large organization. So not everyone's going to know every hiring manager and stuff. But what you can at least ask is if you know someone who works at the company, they can at least put a referral in for you. And anyone in the company can refer you for any position, which is great. But on top of that, going into the finance, a lot of finance roles within Thermo Fisher tend to be there's a lot of similarities. So if you can kind of ask the right questions, hey, what's your process for this? How do you guys do this? You're able to kind of see if you think you'll be a good fit. What ERP systems do you guys use? What's your process for your month-end close? So being able to kind of get those questions ahead of even applying, it kind of got me ready for the interview process and kind of what questions I could ask the hiring manager or the panel that would be hiring me. I think I actually went through 4 rounds of interviews as well. So it got me ready for those interviews with the hiring manager and the rest of the team. So I always encourage people to reach out to people and do your homework ahead of time before, applying for a role and going through the process.
Amy, you've actually kind of engaged with our career services. You had conversations with myself and some of our other coaches. Talk to us about your experience. And, I think, you've been very startup oriented, and now you're thinking about different things, maybe changing function, maybe location. Talk to us a little bit.
So I feel like I'm in an earlier stage than Dennis was. And where I started in terms of this whole transition is working with Sean, the Graduate and Alumni Career Development Center, Rachel. There's been so many people in this group that as soon as I onboarded and was ready to start class, I had a couple of questions about career, interviewing, resumes, and they just took me under their wing. And they worked with me at my pace. We were diligent in taking a look at my resume, my cover letter, just having conversations about, where am I coming from? Where is it that I want to go? And there are so many resources here to prepare us for the interviewing. There are so many alumni that are open to having conversations. So I look at it as a period of rebranding myself, and I've had an entire team there to work with me. So that's actually been phenomenal.
So the team has, been here to help you. Have you had a chance to tap into the network yet and talk to, different alums and that kind of thing, or you're still kind of figuring that out?
So I've reached out to a couple of really interesting individuals. I haven't heard back from them yet, but like I said, it's really early in the stage here. If anything, I'm networking with my own network right now, and that, like Dennis said, it's a networking with people where you have a connection is the most powerful way, I think, to get in front of individuals and find your next opportunity. So that's what I am working on.
Ron, you just finished as you were transitioning into Bentley. Any perspective of how you would think about positioning yourself now, having almost been through the program for a year? You're on mute.
It's a really good question. I was actually thinking about this a little bit of just like what I've observed so far. So like just even coming in like my first week as a Bentley student, there was a pretty robust orientation process. And also the Career Center was immediately engaging with you even before you got on campus to start building the foundational pieces that you're going to need to do the effective networking, to do those things. And I mean, I think that started in June, maybe. June or July, which, if I had been a year back in my search, would have been incredibly helpful, right? And so there's a number of tools that the Career Center provides, whether it's Handshake, whether it's, I think there's virtual interview tools and AI reviews of your resume. that are all super helpful. But outside of that, like the other thing that I found just very like intriguing and like really interesting for folks to be thinking about is it's not just when you look at a lot of universities, it's hey, let's go to the career fair. I am inundated with emails, as we all are at Bentley, but they are usually like, hey, would you like to go to a field trip to the Celtics headquarters? Do you want to go to a field trip to Akamai to talk to, the finance team? They're providing a very interesting, unique networking opportunities where if you play your cards right, you have the ability to stand out to a small group of very interested people. And that is something that I think a lot of places lack. But these opportunities seem to filter through constantly through Outlook in the tools that we're given. So it's just one thing that I find very unique. And then also there's just all these great opportunities, fireside chats with CEOs, CTOs, CFOs of major companies that you're not going to get that FaceTime in other places. So I'm a big fan of all of those opportunities.
Yeah, oh, that's awesome. So you guys have talked a lot about the careers and that element of your student experience. How does someone who's working or, you're at a different life stage, with people, how is like the kind of social side of the, working professional or part-time MBA experience worked for you all? Have you been able to connect with people, make friends, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I would say I have been surprisingly, what's the word, entertained.
Yeah.
First of all, I think our Graduate Student Association does a really good job. I mean, it's all student run. They put on a lot of events, and those events don't feel like they're just for the MBAs that are on campus. They make everybody feel very welcome. I think our first event was a cruise in Boston Harbor. And so now you're on a boat with, 150 of your peers, and you're networking, you're interacting, you're having a great time. And so there's a number of those just social opportunities that are provided, which I think oftentimes, depending on the location, I guess what's the word I want to use? Bentley doesn't feel fragmented. Let's put
Right.
it that
Okay.
way. It's not like we have a graduate association for one group and a graduate association for another one. We're all in it together, which is great. And then there's a lot happening on campus. So, I mean, I feel like I'm at a hockey game every couple of weeks. I see fellow students there. I see professors there. It's a very accessible community to begin with, but we're encouraged to participate and be part of it. So I found the interactions to be really great. I feel like I've met a lot of people, and I think I said this earlier, but that orientation really kind of sets the tone. That orientation, which I think is a 2-day orientation, really allowed me to interact and meet with a lot of people at the beginning without worrying about classes, needing to be somewhere, everything else. And I think the message that came out of that was the people around you are your network. Our cohort, our group of, 2, 3, 4 years of students, we're the network that's going to be helping each other out, which certainly kind of greases the skids for those interactions.
Fantastic. Great perspective. Dennis.
Yeah, I remember attending the Grad Student Association events, obviously before the pandemic, and I would actually go with the other part-time students in my class because, we would all know each other. So we'd have like our little crew. But by going to those events, obviously they're a great time and it's just something to do outside of class. It really does, force that networking that you want to do and be part of, as part of your grad school experience, because I think that's it's a really big importance that a lot of people don't realize how important that is as part of your experience. And so going to the GSA events and taking advantage of whether it's kind of hey, we're having a salsa night, a salsa and chips night in, whatever room it is or stuff like that. All those little events that would be open to people on campus, whether you're full-time or part-time. I definitely feel it's important to take advantage of. And Ron, I agree with you in regards to the orientation. I remember attending that. I went for one day and I met some really cool people on that during orientation, and we ended up like registering for a lot of the same courses and stuff. So you get to meet people right away by doing by doing some of those events. So it's really just about putting yourself out there and kind of stepping outside your comfort zone as well. So I think it's really important, and I think Bentley does a really good job of maintaining a social network as well.
Amy, any perspective you want to share? You're the most unique person in this group, right? So
Right, because I'm so far away. Well, I was going to say, even though I'm remote and I'm 1,200 miles away from the actual university, I was thinking about every single course that I have already taken with Bentley. I am connected with a handful of people from each class. And I even spoke with a friend, like I'll call her a friend, that was in my stats class last year. And I talked to her the other day. So I definitely have made friends, connections that I will keep in touch with moving forward.
fantastic. One of the things that, you've had Dennis, you finished, Ron and Amy, Ron and Amy, you guys are moving through the program. What is something that you, looking back at, when you were in the application process, is kind of a surprise or different than you thought you would get out of this experience, right? You're like, and you could tell a prospective student now something like, I think everyone always thinks about these programs like, oh yeah, I need to get the MBA, the credential, that kind of thing. But it was like, I wish I would have known this, and this would have, this was a piece of hidden value that I totally didn't anticipate getting.
Sean, do you want me to go?
Go ahead.
Oh. Yeah, I think looking back from when you're applying to a graduate school and you're kind of coming up, like, besides just getting your MBA, like, what do you want to get out of your course curriculum, and what are you really trying to achieve? And I would say one thing that I got out of it, what you learn in the classroom doesn't necessarily only can apply to your professional career. Like, you learn a lot of life skills, interpersonal skills that you don't just have to apply in your professional career. It applies to everyday life. Those emotional intelligent leadership courses, managing people, dealing with conflicts. So one thing that I guess I didn't realize going into it is, like, you think about it, it's only going to help you in your work, in your professional career. But a lot of the courses are actually can be addressed to real life problems as well. So I think that's one of the things that I got out, and that's, I think, what really made me enjoy the program is a lot of the concepts and principles can be applied to not just your day job, but to everyday, problem solving or any conflicts and stuff that people may go through. So I think that was one thing, those life skills that you learn, they can be applied in multiple ways.
Awesome. Ron.
It's a great question. And part of me wants to say there really hasn't been a lot of surprises because everybody's so transparent about what the Bentley experience is. I would say the one really interesting thing to me, which still gives me a lot to think about, is, and I think Amy touched on this a little bit, is you're given a tremendous amount of flexibility, and that flexibility extends to the courses you're taking, whether they're accelerated, whether they're online. There is an interesting raft of study abroad courses that bring in a little something different, whether you're going to Japan or you're going to Scotland, that like makes me go, oh, maybe I should be thinking a little bit broader than just, the typical, core and foundational courses, that are provided. And so, in my head, I'm thinking to myself, is there, a possibility to, go to Japan and learn about how a different culture does business and be there in person, right?
Mm-hmm.
And be able to have that at the same time accelerate my MBA. Those opportunities did not immediately present themselves. We started hearing about them in orientation, but now I get the regular email telling me that I need to take a trip somewhere, which at some point I'm going to try to make happen. So
Awesome. Amy.
So I'm going to go back in time for just a second. I've always known Bentley to be an amazing university, but over the years at work, I don't know if you guys can relate, but when you collaborate with somebody, whether it's inside the company or somebody that's at a client account, if you have a good experience, you never forget that experience. You value the feedback, you trust that person, and it's just an amazing experience. I have to tell you, at least on 4 occasions in my career, I had met business professionals that I had enjoyed so much in terms of just trust, collaboration, creativity, no ego, and there to help. And wouldn't you know, they all graduated from Bentley. And so many years ago, I even said to myself, if I'm going to get my MBA, it's going to be with Bentley, because I don't know what's going on there, but everybody's awesome that comes from there. So that was my initial feeling. When I got to Bentley, I will say that I didn't have expectations, but wow, was I floored, and I'm still floored. Bentley is exceptionally consistent. They're consistent in the way that they care, their support, the organization of their program. And it's not just Sean who's caring. It's everybody. It's my professors. It's people in IT. It's people that I talk to in financial aid. I mean, it's everywhere. It's just who Bentley is. And I think that's what I love the most.
Fantastic. We're coming to an end here, and I want to give you all a chance to each give kind of a closing reflection or thought about your experience and something that you'd like to share with our audience. We'll start with Amy.
So in my short time at Bentley so far, I will say that my confidence, any doubts that I had about who I was, how I wanted to approach my career, how I wanted to approach leadership, my confidence and just affirmation about everything has hit home so quickly. And if any of you out there are going back and forth about what is your next step in your career, is it too late to go back to school? Do I want to take on all that work? I can only speak for myself, but the journey has been absolutely amazing. The workload is so realistic. If you're engaged and you're committed, it's so doable. So, if you're looking to do something great for yourself, absolutely think about it.
Fantastic. Dennis.
Yeah, I guess one of my biggest takeaways through my experience at Bentley, and I think we actually briefly touched upon it earlier, I think it was Amy, you don't necessarily need to be a manager or supervisor and to be a leader in an organization. Anyone can step up and help lead positive change. They're 2 separate roles, being a manager and being a leader. But anyone can still be in a position to influence, whether you're an analyst just starting your career or you're a director or CFO. And I think once I had went through the program and really understood the differences between the two, that's when I really started seeing things from a different perspective and applying that in my day job. I may not have been the manager or the supervisor at the time, but I was able to say, well, I'm able to still make a positive impact because you're still able to lead and be a positive influence. And then people trust your judgment, whether it's a financial report I was putting together or, and I just want to touch upon briefly, like ethics was a big thing at Bentley as well. And I would just say the courses teach you a lot about ethics, and that can be applied to any company, any organization. So I definitely pay attention in those courses as well.
And Ron, last but definitely not least.
Yeah, I mean, piggybacking on what Amy said, I mean, there is a lot of positivity. There's a lot of happiness on campus. And it's probably because there's a lot of opportunity and a lot of good people. And so my experience so far has been really, really great. As Amy said, the workload is reasonable. Under the radar, especially as a working professional, you're going to take a lot of joy in sharing your experience with others that may not have had the same experiences. And that's not an opportunity that every working professional has. So you get to essentially, in some cases, become another teacher in the class because you have a unique experience that others don't have. And then the last thing I will add in is that you will find it immensely satisfying when you go into your LinkedIn profile and you hit the button that says education, and even if you just put in there, Bentley University, expected 2029, it makes a world of difference. And people notice just taking the step to getting that degree is a big deal to a lot of people. Not just yourself, but everybody around you. You'll have a lot of support.
Fantastic. Thanks so much. And with that, I'd really like to thank you all for your commentary. Do want to make sure I stress to the audience that we're open for questions. We have a couple of slides that we want to go through pretty quickly. I'll go through and then I'll turn it over to Gordon. All right.
Absolutely, Sean. I'll pull those up for you right now. You want to go over those 2 slides here? Let me do that.
Yep.
There we go. There you go.
And so, one of the things here, Bentley is a business university, and we're really focused on, maximizing career outcomes for the students. And so we've continued to make investments in graduate career development. Faith Beatty, our Director of Career Resources, career development for our grad and alumni, has put a lot of effort into like the programming and the resources that we have. And you're not just getting career services for while you're in the program. Her office is responsible for you as an alum as well. And, we see our commitment to you as kind of a lifelong, value proposition. We want to be there for you at those different inflection points. We're always, changing points in career. I think Ron talked about, like, first it was startups, then it was consulting. Now he's in product. Amy has had, different phases of her career. Dennis has switched employers. And so that's a big focus that's here at Bentley, at a business university that's different than a lot of schools. And so these are some of the tools. VMOC is an AI resume, critiquing tool. Career Leader is our career assessment tool that we use. That's like a backbone of our coaching. We have all these LinkedIn learning classes and programs, the Vault. We also provide career coaching, which you'll see there is Rachel, John Hutchins, and Audra. So very committed to Urison, and these services are there for working professionals as well as our full-time students. So we don't discriminate, because everyone's success here is our success. And when we admit people into the program, we are assessing you for your promotability, what we see as your perceived kind of trajectory and career. And so the admissions process is part of making sure we can get people that we can position for success. Next slide, Gordon. And so this year we've had a lot of different events, these signature events. So during orientation, we had the Career Success Summit. Then we also have, and this is where we do, had a pitch competition, talked about networking, storytelling. We brought in an outside speaker who does these kind of career workshops with schools like Harvard, Rice University. I've used them at my other school, and when I was working in Asia at the Asia School of Business. We also have career conversations with alumni, right? So sometimes you need someone as a role model to say, okay, I could see myself like I was them 5 years ago. And so we have a great community that's open. And then we have grad-only career fairs. And so, it's just another kind of complementary element to your grad process. And so in addition to like a lot of the social aspects, got a robust career curriculum here. And so with all that, listening to Amy, listening to Dennis and Ron, we really think we have something compelling here for working professionals. And if you haven't started an application or you haven't had a call with us, feel free to reach out. I think Gordon has a few slides now that he's going to bring us down the home stretch with.
I do. Excellent, Dr. Ferguson. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Wow, I've been really set up here to follow three amazing people that just did a fabulous job just talking about their experience here at Bentley. So Ron, thank you. Dennis, thank you. And Amy, thank you for just sharing some amazing experiences that you've had here. So now we've all had a chance to hear these fantastic stories. Hopefully we've got you a little excited, got you a little energized that you're now looking to apply to Bentley. Maybe you start your own adventure, start your own experience here with us. And the best way to do that is to start with your application. Getting an opportunity to go onto our website, fill out the application. Currently, there is no cost to apply to the university. It's the application fee has been waived, so that all you'll need to do is go on, start the application. You're going to submit your resume. You're also going to submit your LinkedIn profile. Dr. Ferguson talked a little bit about how we use LinkedIn quite a bit. It's an incredibly important part of a lot of what's happening in the business world today. So make sure you submit that updated and current LinkedIn profile. It is one recommendation letter. So whether you have a lot of years of experience or only a few years of experience, you can submit either a professional recommendation or an academic recommendation if you're a current or recent graduate from your undergraduate program. It is one essay. We are a business school, so you want to make sure you're succinct and to the point. It is between 300 and 500 words for your first essay. And then there's an optional personal statement where you can talk a little bit about maybe why you want to come to Bentley, why you want to take a particular program with us, like one of our MBA programs. We also do have the GRE or the GMAT. This is an optional test that you can take as part of your application process. A lot of people may submit a GRE or a GMAT as part of their application if they maybe feel like a certain part of their application isn't quite as strong as they would like it to be. So this is a great way to kind of add a little bit more to an application if you're feeling like there's one particular area that may not be as strong as you would like it to be. After that, we also do have an English language test. If you are an international student and you attended your entire degree outside of the US in a foreign language, you will need to provide an English language test. We do accept Duolingo, the TOEFL, or the IELTS. And then finally, transcripts. You will need to provide your official transcripts from your prior institution. Once again, if you are an international candidate, you will need to provide those transcripts with an evaluation, not necessarily language evaluation, but an evaluation from the educational standards in the country where you attended your university to the educational standards here in the United States. And then if you're looking to do our full-time or STEM full-time program at the MBA program, you will also need to do an interview. The interview would be like this. It'd be over Zoom where we do that. Or if you are lucky enough, like Dennis or Ron, to live just around the corner from Bentley University's Waltham campus, you can swing up here. And we'd be more than happy to do that in person for you as well. But with that being said, for a lot of our programs here, Bentley, we've been teaching MBAs for over 40 years, and we're always looking to innovate and offer new opportunities for our candidates. And so the newest iteration of our MBA program is our professional MBA program. This is a 2-year online hybrid part-time experience designed for people with more than 3 to 5 years of experience, kind of at that middle level career. This is a cohort-based MBA program. The very first program will be offered this fall of 2025. So we're really excited. So if that's something of interest to you, I really encourage you to take a look at this program. In a minute, I'll be able to put up an opportunity for you to reach out and talk with us a little bit more. Or maybe you're still not quite sure, which again, I would be surprised after hearing from Amy, Dennis, and Ron that you may have any hesitation at all to want to come and do your MBA here. However, we do offer the Essentials in Management, which is a mini MBA program. Maybe you just want to dip your toe in. Maybe you just want to make sure that this is going to be the right fit for you. This is a great opportunity to come in and kind of get a taste of the experience of doing your MBA program. The next class for this is starting March 6th, so you can still have time to submit your application, come in and try out this mini MBA program. So if you still want to get your questions answered, maybe you want to talk about your individual situation, you do have an opportunity here where you can set up a student ambassador consultation. We have great current students who are willing to talk with you about their own experiences here. You can also set up an admissions consultation with myself or one of my colleagues where we can talk about your individual situation. We can talk about your application. We can talk about, maybe is this the right fit for you? How can we help you out? You can also follow us on Instagram, or again, I'm going to say it again, LinkedIn, so important. You can follow us and like us on LinkedIn as well. And if you're interested in that executive mini MBA or one of our other short-term executive and certificate programs, you can also reach out to us and take a look at our executive and professional education courses. So with that being said, I just want to, once again, Amy, Dennis, Ron, Dr. Ferguson, thank you all so much for this fantastic conversation. We all learned so much. You really inspired us all to hopefully look a little bit deeper into what we're doing here and for people to get their own MBAs here at Bentley University. Thank you all. Have a wonderful evening. Have a wonderful morning. Have a wonderful afternoon, wherever you are in the world. And we look forward to maybe talking to you all real again soon. All the best. Bye-bye, everyone.
Take care.